So I've often been accused of being a late developer, and it may have taken me 3.5 years, but finally we've got an A+ rating when the board send us our monthly review, and to top it off, both the board and the fans are pleased with the transfers that we've made, which is good because, well, obviously we've not signed anybody in the 3.5 years that we've been here, but there must be a good reason why the board is so impressed with our work. And this is why the board are so pleased. You'll see that we have now gone 11 games at the start of the season and we are still unbeaten. If you add that to the run that we were on at the end of the last campaign, in total we are 17 games without defeat. Things have been going okay. I wouldn't say we probably deserve to be unbeaten at this stage of the season. Some of these games have been pretty close affairs, to be honest. But after the last episode where we came from behind in injury time, not just to snag a point against Follow, but actually beat them, well, we went into the next game against Lawrence Koog and we beat them as well. And our mate, by the way, Andre Gerser, made it 4 goals in just 2 games at the start of the season, and he has proved himself to be definite first team quality at the start of this campaign. So the season started pretty brightly and we scored 4 goals in both of the first 2 games. The goals kept on raining. We took a 2-0 lead against Strummen before ending up drawing 3-3. And when we drew 2-2 against Levanger, I was feeling like we weren't having the strongest start to the campaign. But we managed to tighten things up a little bit at the back. We focused more on defensive positioning and shadow defensive play in training, as well as training on some of those defensive set pieces. And we got 3 1-0 victories on the bounce. We beat Start second team 1-0. Late goal to snag the points for us there. But then we beat Vålerenga's second team as well. Newly promoted Elverum we beat 1-0. Before things started to get even more impressive. So, Skeid are the team that are closest to us in the table. We managed to beat them 3-0. And another of our youngsters was the player that got us underway in this game. And this is probably the best goal we've had from any of our younger players. This was Ludwig Dreyer proving that he is a threat from outside the box. Remember, when he came through, he was listed as a striker. So he's definitely got a goal in him. And that just led to another little mini run, because then we played Storbeck second team and beat them 3-0 before a 3-2 win against Vikings second team. And in this game, well, we did get away with one a little bit, because one of their goals to level it up at 2-2 was the result of a defensive howler, and that has become a little bit of a theme in our early run of games. So Vibe was on the ball, stood on it, then tried to lunge in and tackle. He couldn't do it, and the opposition ran through and equalised at the time, but a goal in the 80th minute from substitute Anderson was enough to get us the win. But in the next game against Grorud, well, we had another defensive mistake, and this time, well, we weren't able to recover from it. The mistake this time came from our other centre-half, Hansen, who did a similar thing in a more dangerous area. He dallied on the ball from a long goal kick. Looks like there was no danger at all. But our centre-halves are making mistakes, so they're in last chance saloon at the moment. For today's game, we're going to have a very young Simon Sunder on the bench. And to be honest, another couple of mistakes from our centre-halves, and we might be looking to play him in the first team. But if we show you the table as we have it, then you will see that we are top of it. We've played 11 games. We've got 27 points. Only 2 ahead of Start second team. But second teams can't get promotion out of this division. This is as high a level as they are allowed to play at. So we're actually 6 points clear of Skeid, who are down in third. And if you take out Vålerenga's second team, who can't get promoted either, then we're a good 10 points clear of Levanger down there in 5th. So It's been a pretty decent start, but as I say, we've not been blowing teams away, really. Another thing that we've been doing is conceding too many penalties. I think we've conceded 4 during our first 11 games. So one thing we're doing for today's fixture is we are taking off the get stuck in, which I wanted in there to make us a little bit more forceful and combative. And as we were closing down and pressing, there was a little bit of end result to all of that closing down. But it's led to us just shoving players over in the box and a little bit of too aggressive defending. So we're going to experiment with taking it off today. Let's show you a couple of our youngsters then and how they've been getting on. Gersa now has appeared in 10 of our 11 games. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists, and an average rating above a 7. He continues to train pretty well as well. One of the things I'm going to put that down to is just a little bit of a change in what we're asking him to do in training. Although we want him to play on the right-hand side of a 4-4-2 as a conventional winger, we're actually training him to play as an inside forward in that little slot a little bit further up the field. Not because we ever want him to play in that role necessarily, but because it captures a greater range of attribute areas that he works on in training. And so hopefully, even if it doesn't improve those areas, it will stop them declining, which seems to be the case with some of our youngsters. If you don't specifically train them in that attribute area, they go on the decline. So we're working on that with Gersa. Our mate Dreyer has also played in 10 games. A couple of those he filled in at centre-back. You'll see his current ability, according to our assistant manager, is now 3.5 stars. The coaching staff are ranking him as one of our best players now, and physically he is looking superb. When he came through as a 16-year-old, his strength was 9. It's now up to 14. Physically across the board, he has trained really well. I think the next stage is to try and develop some of these technical attributes. The aggression's 5, which is never going to be great playing in the centre of the park, but at least the bravery's there. And although he's got a great first touch, we want to work on his passing, his tackling, his vision, his work rate, his technique, just to make him a more rounded player in the centre of the park. That is our next job. Like most of our young midfielders, we're training him as a box-to-box midfielder again. Not because that's the role that he plays, but because it captures a lot of different attributes that, again, even if we can't improve, at least we can try and stop things like his finishing declining further than they already have. So he's training very well. He's got a 9.4 rating. Other thing that we've been doing with our youngsters is giving them lots of praise every time they play well, every time they put in a good shift in training, or we get that little message about them developing well. We are giving them the pats on the back in today's game because of an injury to our left winger Pedersen. We're also bringing in Asbjørn Eriksson, who is again training very, very nicely. He doesn't really have the pace to go out there on the left wing. We're going to ask him to be a left-sided midfielder, maybe a wide midfielder. And again, we're training him on that box-to-box function just to try and get him more rounded in his attributes. And in the second half of the season, we're definitely going to try and give him more game time just to make sure he continues his pretty miraculous development. Remember, he was the guy that had improved by 39 attribute points, more than any other player that came through in our first youth intake. So this is the squad that we are going to put out today. We've got a match against Chelsea, who last season managed to snag that playoff place, but this season they're struggling a little bit further down the table. But we're not playing well, so don't let our league position fool you. We're not going out there today expecting to roll over any opposition, but we are going to go out there and try and make it 12 games unbeaten at the start of this campaign. And so we are underway. 12th game of the season then. We're top of the table. But again, I would like to see us start playing a little bit better. We've done a little bit of defensive work in training this week because we've not been happy with how we've been doing. We've been having to outscore teams to get a point or to get a win. And a lot of our wins have come by just the solitary goal. So we're looking for a little bit more today, and we're looking to try and just cut out some of these defensive mistakes, the giving away of penalties, the balancing on top of the ball when the attackers are closing you down, and we're going to see whether we can just be a little bit tighter today. Losing Pedersen over on the left wing is not ideal. Means we've brought our left back, Christofferson, a little bit further forward for today because we're playing a wide midfielder, but you'll see that, well, that hasn't really helped us with our defending, and I just feel at the moment, whilst players like Dreyer and Gerser have just rejuvenated us in the middle of the park, as Dreyer on the goal line dabs one into the side netting, at the back we're looking a little bit ponderous. Remember, we play a left winger as left back, and we play a central midfielder as right back. And one of our central defenders, Hansen, is only 22, 23 years old. The other, Vibe, is about to turn 34 as he lumps the ball forward. And we're just waiting because we've got two really good central defenders in our under-19s. One of them, Simon Sunder, has that model citizen personality, even though that has not translated into him training particularly well. He's on the bench for us today. We've got another Icelandic 15-year-old that came through in the last youth intake. Both look great prospects at centre-half. But we're trying not to blood them too early. We're waiting until they're closer to 18 before we give them these extended runs in the first team. Now, we've had a lot of feedback in the comments about when exactly we should be trying to get these youngsters into the team. There's a school of thought that says you do it as early as possible. Even if they're only 15 or 16, the first team's the best place for their development, and they will improve more rapidly if they're playing first team games. Other people are contrary to that. Other people say until the age of 18, the under-19 squad is the best place for them. As they get through, and we rely on our keeper to make a little save there. We've not really started well, have we? We might just change our mentality a little bit because we are getting a little bit overrun. And you know, sometimes, as they're through again, get back, Eriksson. The keeper has had to save us again. Just sometimes you're picking up results, but you know the tactic isn't quite playing right. And some bad results are just around the corner. That's how I'm feeling at the moment, by the way. I've nudged it down to a balanced mentality because we are getting overrun. And at half-time, I don't know whether we might need to make some changes. We've been going down in some of our games and then having to chase them. And I think because of some of our attacking prowess, we've been able to get back into those games, but they've been slobber knockers rather than controlled performances. But back to when we're blooding our youngsters. So I'm going to go with the strategy of trying to keep them in the under-19s, whom I am managing now, and they are top of their league and still in the Norwegian Under-19 Cup. I'm going to try and keep players down there until halfway through their 17th year or till they're about 18 years old. We bought Gerser in this season and he was 18. Dreyer in this season and he was 18. And they did a lot better at that age. That's the goal that we needed. Mathiasen knocked down from Grunwald. That is a relief because we've not deserved that. But this is how we're playing, by the way. Not deserving what we're getting. But Dreyer and Gerser have definitely looked a lot better this season now that they're a little bit older and their attributes have developed that little bit more than when we were playing them when they were 16 or 17 years old. And the reason we're going to go with that strategy is because I guess that relates to how things are done in the real footballing world. Our Football Manager prides itself on trying to duplicate real-life football. Apart from outliers like Wayne Rooney, who was in the Everton team at 16, or Jude Bellingham, who was playing for my Birmingham side at the age of 7, they're outliers really. You don't see that happen very often. As they've equalised and that goalie has not got anywhere near it. And you can't say Chelsea did not deserve that. This is a poor performance again from us. But apart from those outliers, players don't tend to break into first teams until they are 17 or 18. It's rare that you see 15 and 16-year-olds playing in the first teams, even in lower league football. So we're going to go with that as our strategy and see how it works. The under-19s are doing well. Training this year is going an awful lot better than it was last year. Although performances today are not going so well. They've blasted another one. We're going to demand more for the last 5 minutes of the half. And I think a pretty tough team talk is coming these boys' way, ready for the second half. Skeeter in action today as well. Looks like they are tied at half time. We're behind on the XG. I think we're lucky to be at 1-1. We're going to get in. We're going to have a brew. We're going to tell some home truths to these players. We're going to see you for the start of the second half. Okay, we've clicked some buttons for this second half. Whether it will make any difference, I'm not entirely sure. We've also asked our left-back Christofferson to play as a wing-back now, and we're asking Eriksson just to play as a more defensive-minded wide midfielder over on that side. But it's not us that's got the highlights again, is it? And we have not played well. And remember, this is a side that, although they were in the playoffs last season, have not started this campaign very well. We're not doing a great job this afternoon of just getting on the ball and breaking. We're going forward a little bit too soon. And then we're getting broken on. So we've asked the players to play out of defence a little bit, not go quite so long to Grunwald early on. And you know what? I think at the start of this second half, we're going to put out another shout to them. And we're actually going to berate them because this is a pretty tepid performance. I think also, maybe, we're going to have a look at some subs that we could play. See whether we can actually get our noses back in front in this game. Okay, one change has been made. It's not an attacking one, actually. We've taken Vibe off because he was on a 6.4 again, and we brought on Simon Sunder. Young he may be, but, well, look, if you're not going to blood your youngsters when your first team players are not playing well, then I'm not sure when you're going to do it. We've got the overlap on here if we use it. Christofferson's quick. He has got in. Grunwald's there. At least we've created a chance in this second half. Not a great one. But we're getting into the game a little bit. We're looking for Grunwald on this front post, I think. We've not got anywhere near him. And now we're looking at being countered on again. Get over there. Hack him down if you have to. Somebody get over to him. Oh, we've given away another penalty. Oh, and Christofferson has lunged in on the edge of the box. That's our 5th penalty conceded. And this is how we're going to go down, isn't it? With our own mistakes once again. Okay, now you're going to see us pour everybody forward. Okay, the cavalry have been instructed to charge forward. It's not made the blindest bit of difference so far, has it? We're on an attack mentality. And we're defending. Set piece time. Can we get it a clear and counter? We can get it clear. We can't counter. And we have just looked pretty listless today, haven't we? And do you know what? We deserve to be 3-1 down. I told you this was how we were feeling, you know. We've been winning games or coming back and snatching points, but we've not been playing well. I felt like this kind of result had been on the cards for a few games, and the team have just played poorly today. So we've been undone by defensive mistakes, but also, a little bit more worryingly, we've not really looked like an attacking threat in this game either, have we? This is maybe the first time we've seen the ball go near Gerser. He gets tackled, and for the 3rd game running, for the love of God, our defenders have dwelt on the ball, and this time it's the youngster Sunder. 3 games running this has now happened, with 3 different centre-halves. What is this? You're trying to back-heel it? Oh, I don't even know. I can't even explain it, and now we're 4-1 down, and the game has gone. And you know what happens when you have one of these results. The form tumbles, the morale plummets. We'll be in mid-table before you know it. We've got absolutely nothing going forward today. Christofferson has played awfully again. Well, that was our best effort in a while, and that looked like a cross that nobody got on the end of, and it ran through to their keeper. Oh, defensively, we've got troubles. Are we playing too many youngsters? I don't think we are. Sunder was at fault today, but it's not like the other 2 haven't made mistakes as well. Anderson's got in. He's not even able to get his shot away. Can he get a ball across? He can't. He's gone back. Oh, this is all a little bit pondersome, isn't it? Where's Gerso? He's finally got on the ball for the first time today. He can't get a cross in. It has just been pretty poor, hasn't it? So we took the lead undeservedly. They've roared back and scored 4 against us. It lifts them up to 6th in the table. What I haven't seen is what Skeed are doing today. But I can tell you what we will be doing. We will be giving them the mother of all team talks. Because that was a pretty dire performance. Nobody escapes from it with any credit. And Drea's on a 6.3. Gersa's on a 6.5. I tell you what, some of the veterans have played just as poorly. Well, let's thrash our arms, tell them that was an absolute scandal, and let's have a look at the results and the table. So, well, Skeed have at least drawn 0-0, so rather than make up 3 points on us, they've only made up the 1. But that was an alarming sign, if you ask me. We've now got to go away. I think we've got to perform a little bit of surgery on our tactic. We've got to try and tighten things up. We've got to stop these ludicrous mistakes. We've got to stop giving away the penalties. We've got to do an awful lot more, because when we come back, I'm not sure we're going to be top of the table.